Dutch sailors tried to shrink wine down for an easier voyage. What they got instead was a completely different drink. By the 1500s and 1600s, Dutch merchants dominate trade routes across Europe, moving wine, spices, and goods by ship in massive quantities. Wine is heavy. It's mostly water. And shipping mostly water cargo across rough seas, in barrels that take up huge amounts of space, is expensive and inefficient. So Dutch traders come up with a practical fix. Distill the wine before shipping it. Heat it, capture the vapor, and condense it back down, pulling out much of the water and leaving behind a concentrated, much stronger liquid. Less volume, less weight, more product per barrel, more room in the cargo hold. They call it Brandy, burnt wine, named for the boiling process used to make it. The plan is simple. Ship the concentrate, then add the water back once it arrives at its destination, restoring it to something close to the original wine before selling it. For a while, that's exactly what happens at ports across Europe. But somewhere along the way, barrels of the concentrated spirit sit in storage longer than expected. Weeks, sometimes months, waiting on a ship or a buyer. And in that time, something changes inside the wood. The spirit interacts with the barrel itself, pulling color and flavor from the wood, mellowing out some of the harshness from distillation. When someone finally opens one of these barrels, they don't water it back down first. They taste it exactly as it is. And it's better, smoother, richer, more complex than the diluted wine it was always meant to become. Word spreads. Merchants start deliberately leaving some barrels undiluted, aging them longer on purpose instead of watering them back down the moment they arrive. What began as a shipping shortcut, a way to move less water across the ocean, becomes a product in its own right, valued specifically for the qualities that only showed up because someone decided not to finish the original plan. The name sticks around too, worn down over time from Brandy into the word used across the world today, brandy. A drink invented by accident, by people trying to solve a logistics problem, who ended up creating something nobody had actually been trying to make. According to legend, one of the world's most eaten cheeses exists because somebody simply forgot about a bucket of milk. The story goes back to the English village of Cheddar in Somerset, sometime around the Middle Ages. Nearby, cutting into the hillside, is a set of deep limestone caves, the Cheddar Gorge Caves. Cool, damp, a steady temperature that barely changes with the seasons outside. As the legend is told, a local milkmaid left a pail of fresh milk inside one of these caves. Some versions say she was distracted, some say she simply forgot it was there, and didn't return for it right away. Days pass, maybe longer. When she finally comes back for the pail, the milk isn't milk anymore. The natural coolness and humidity of the cave, combined with whatever wild bacteria and airborne cultures live in that environment, has quietly turned it into something solid, a firm, tangy curd, unlike anything made on purpose. Someone tastes it anyway, and it's good, genuinely good, sharp, nutty, with a texture nobody had been trying to achieve. Now, historians are honest about this part. Nobody can prove the story happened exactly this way. Like a lot of food origin legends, it's the kind of tale that gets repeated because it's satisfying, not because there's a signed record of one specific milkmaid on one specific day. What we do know for certain is that Cheddar Gorge's caves were real, and they were used deliberately for centuries afterward, once people understood what those conditions could do. Cheesemakers began aging their cheese inside the caves on purpose, stacking wheels along the natural rock shelves, letting the constant cool, humid air slowly transform them over months. Records show cheese from this region being made and prized as early as the 12th century. King Henry II is even said to have ordered massive quantities of it for the royal court. Over time, the process spreads beyond the original caves. Dairies elsewhere start making cheese in the cheddar style, using similar techniques even without the exact geology that started it. Eventually, The name stops referring to the village at all. Cheddar becomes a method, a type of cheese, made almost anywhere in the world, following steps first perfected in one particular set of caves in Somerset. Whether or not it truly began with one forgotten bucket, the cheese that carries the name is now one of the most consumed in the world, outselling nearly every other variety in the country where the legend was born. A candy shaped like a street performer's dancing bear started in a small kitchen in Germany, with a batch of gum that came out far too soft to sell. Bonn, 1920. Hans Riegel, a candy maker, starts a company out of his own kitchen. Just him, one kettle, and a stone slab for rolling out sugar. He names the company by combining pieces of his own name and city, HERIBO, Hans Riegel Bonn. At the time, the fair and market crowds of Europe love a very specific kind of street entertainment. Trained bears, led on leashes by traveling performers, made to stand and shuffle on their hind legs for a crowd. Dancing bears, as they're known. Riegel is experimenting with a fruit gum recipe, sugar, syrup, and gum arabic, boiled and set into a chewy candy base. Getting the ratio right isn't simple. Too much gum arabic and the mixture turns tough. Too little and it won't hold a shape at all. It stays soft, wobbly, closer to jelly than candy. One batch comes out exactly like that. Springy, elastic, almost bouncing back when pressed. Not the firm sweet he'd been aiming for. Instead of scrapping it, Riegel looks at what he actually has in front of him, something soft enough to hold a detailed shape, with a satisfying chew unlike anything else on the market. He thinks of the dancing bears everyone in town already knows from the fairs, and decides to pour the mixture into a small bear-shaped mold instead of the usual flat fruit drop shape. The first version, in 1922, is called the Tanzbar, the dancing bear. Taller, less rounded than the version everyone recognizes today, but unmistakably a bear standing on its hind legs. It's an immediate hit with children in the area, a soft, chewy fruit candy shaped like the entertainment they already loved watching. Over the following decades, the company refines the shape, smaller, rounder, friendlier, and by the 1960s, the modern gummy bear is set in the 5 fruit flavors and colors still used today. Riegel's small kitchen operation eventually grows into one of the largest candy companies in the world, built almost entirely on the shape that came out of a batch that wasn't supposed to work. Peanut butter wasn't invented for sandwiches. It was invented for people who could barely chew. In the late 1800s, doctors and health reformers in the United States were looking for better sources of protein, especially for patients who struggled with solid food. Elderly people with missing or failing teeth. The sick. Anyone who couldn't safely eat a piece of meat. Peanuts were cheap, packed with protein, and already being eaten across the country. The problem was texture. A whole peanut still needs teeth. Around St. Louis, a physician starts working on a solution, a machine that could grind roasted peanuts down into something soft enough to eat without chewing at all. The early machines are crude, mostly repurposed grinding equipment, never designed with peanuts in mind. Batches come out uneven, sometimes chunky, sometimes oily and separated. The operators keep adjusting the grind, running the nuts through again and again, trying to get a texture doctors would actually approve of. One run goes further than intended. The peanuts stay in the grinder longer than planned, ground past the coarse, gritty stage people had been settling for. What comes out is smoother than anything made before it. A soft, spreadable paste, closer to butter than to crushed nuts. It's exactly what the original goal needed. Something a patient with no real teeth could eat comfortably, still packed with protein, still cheap to produce. Patents follow. Health food companies and sanitariums start serving it to patients as a meat substitute, a nut butter, positioned as medicine as much as food. For a while, it stays mostly inside hospitals, health resorts, and specialty health food catalogs. Not yet something you'd find in an ordinary kitchen. That changes at the 1904 World's Fair in St. Louis, where a vendor sells it to the general public for the first time, alongside popcorn, hot dogs, and ice cream cones. People who never had trouble chewing anything try it anyway, and like it regardless. Manufacturers start refining the process further, better roasting, smoother grinding, eventually the addition of a stabilizer to stop the natural oil from separating on the shelf. Within a few decades, what began as a soft food for people who couldn't chew becomes one of the most common items in an ordinary pantry, sold by the jar, spread on bread, eaten by people with perfectly healthy teeth who have no idea the whole thing started as medical equipment for people who didn't. In a Swiss factory, a growing pile of unwanted fat nearly got thrown away, until someone decided to sweeten it instead. For decades, Swiss chocolate makers had built their reputation on dark chocolate, beans roasted, ground, and pressed to extract two things: dry cocoa solids, which gave chocolate its color and bitterness, and cocoa butter, the pale, fatty part. The solids went straight into the chocolate bars everyone knew. But the cocoa butter was a different story. Chocolate production only needed so much of it, and the presses kept producing more. Warehouses filled with blocks of pure cocoa butter, expensive to make, difficult to store, and, for years, without a clear commercial use. It sat there, batch after batch, a byproduct nobody quite knew what to do with. Eventually, someone at one of the big Swiss manufacturers, the kind of company that didn't like waste sitting on its balance sheet, decided to experiment. If cocoa butter could carry flavor and melt smoothly in the mouth, why not build something around it directly? Instead of treating it as leftover, they mixed it with sugar, then with milk solids, for body and sweetness. The result wasn't brown. It had no dry cocoa in it at all, just fat, sugar, and milk, blended into a pale, creamy solid. At first, nobody called it chocolate. It was framed internally as a way to use up the surplus, a practical fix for a storage problem, not a new product line. But when people actually tasted it, the reaction was different than expected. It was sweet, smooth, nothing like a byproduct. By the 1930s, the company refines the formula and starts selling it commercially as its own candy bar. It's pale white, marketed for its creaminess, and, fittingly, given how it started, priced like a treat rather than an industrial leftover. For decades, it stays mostly a European product, popular with children in particular. It doesn't become a serious presence in American stores until the 1980s. And even today, the debate hasn't fully settled. Since it contains no cocoa solids, the part that actually comes from the cacao bean's dark, bitter core, some chocolate purists argue it isn't really chocolate at all. Regulators eventually had to step in and legally define what can be labeled white chocolate and what can't. But none of that changes how it started: a warehouse full of leftover fat, and someone who decided to turn a disposal problem into one of the most recognizable shapes on a candy aisle.
Thanks for watching.